What up, Pokenet? In this video, we're going to take a look at the Mega Lucario EX deck post-rotation. I think this is going to be one of the best decks, but there's also going to be a lot of counters. So I think I've seen a lot of people in Japan now playing Psychic decks to kind of counter Mega Lucario, but then they also have Lily's Clefairy to counter for Dragapult. So that's something we got to kind of watch out for with this deck for sure. Um, but I do love this. I think it has a lot of great things, and I've had a lot of fun playing this deck. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we got going here. So we have three of the Mega Lucario EX. Again, this is great for energy acceleration and because it can still hit pretty big. So Aura Jab for one fighting energy does 130 damage and attach up to three basic fighting energies from your discard pile onto your bench Pokemon in any way you'd like. So, again, a really good way for energy acceleration. We can get everything else fired up with that attack. So, I again, I really like Mega Lucario EX's attack. So then to go along with that, then we have three Riolu, so that way we can evolve into it. So three Riolu. And actually, sometimes this accelerating stab comes in handy because it does 30 damage during your next turn. You can't. This Pokemon can't use accelerating stab. However, when we look at if we're getting Bedewed or something like that, it was an easy way to take a knockout with Riolu. So I've had to use that attack several times. Okay, then one of our other attackers and a part of our draw engine is Soul Rock. So I mean, I'm sure we know how Soul Rock Lunatone works. It's been such a one of the best draw engines we have right now. So I love that that's what this deck uses, right? So using Lunatone, Soul Rock for our draw engine. And then the other reason I really love this deck is because of Hariyama. Again, his ability is Heave Ho Catcher. What a great name that is, right? So it says once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, use its ability, switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon to the active spot. So again, because we're losing Counter Catcher, uh, this is going to be one of the best ways to get an opponent's other Pokemon in the active without having to use a boss's order. So I really love having that. And then also you can fire it up with Mega Lucario's Aura Drab, and then you can use Wild Press, which does 210, and this it also does 70 to himself. But again, for 210, we're knocking out all kinds of different EX Pokemon, ones that are going to be really popular. So you can even use this to, you get something in the active, you can knock out with him. You have the 3 energy on him, and you're taking a 2 prize knockout with a 1 prize Pokemon. So again, I love having Hariyama in here, and then we need two Makuhitas to go along with that. So then we got two Makuhitas that go with that. So that's our Pokemon. That's it. All fighting Pokemon. I've seen a few decks that are running like a Monkey Dory, maybe a Badoo here or there. Um, and then I've seen a few that are also running maybe the Meowth EX as well. So I've seen that in a few different Mega Lucario decks. However, I like this setup. The fact that we can find all of our basic Pokemon with Fighting Gong, um, I think goes a long way. So, yeah, so that's what we got for our Pokemon. Um, Moving into our supporters, we're running 4 of the Lily's Determination. Again, we know this is one of the most powerful supporters we have in the game right now. So we're running all 4 of the Lily's Determination. And then the next one, at times, I find to be I'm unsure of, and that's running 3 Judge. I mean, unfortunately, half the time I get a worse hand, and my opponent ends up with an okay hand. That's why Iona was so much better than Judge. However, it is pretty good late game or early game if we have a good setup, right? If we already have everything set up in place, I think Judge works great to slow other decks down. Because Mega Lucario gets set up so fast, if we're judging them early, we're probably going to be in a better spot. So I'm running 3 of them right now. I may change that up into maybe only 2, but I have 3 of those. Again, if you're looking to find some other supporters or something to change, I think that's maybe the first one of the first places to start. Then we have 2 boss. Again, we don't need as much boss's orders because of Makihita, Harimaka, my bad. But we still want to be able to boss something up if that's what we need to do to get a knockout. We don't have Makihita Hariyama ready to go. So we got 2 boss's orders. And then we have 2 Carmine. The reason I like this in here is we got to get energy in the discard pile if we're going to be using Aura Jab and accelerating energy. I also think we can get a decent amount of draw support right with it. So we got 2 Carmine to help us with that. Again, we only have a few ways to get things in the discard pile, so I think this is a great way to get some energy over there. Um, all right, then we're running the maximum fighting gong. Again, we want to be able to get a basic fighting energy or a basic or fighting Pokemon. And this is a great card in this deck, so that's why we got all 4 that we can have. I love this card. I think it's great, especially any time within the game we need this. So that's a great one to have in here. And then 4 of the Premium Power Pro help our fighting Pokemon do more damage. So that's another big card that's making this deck way better. We can hit huge with this, right? With Mega Lucario, we're hitting 270, so we really need more power to get to some other Mega Pokemon and even some EX Pokemon. And so being able to increase that knockout power is great. Then we have 4 Ultra Balls. Again, hopefully so we can discard some fighting energy into the discard pile. So we got 4 Ultra Balls, again, to get the Pokemon we need and to get some energy in the discard pile, hopefully. And then we have 4 Pokepads. So, man, these were so hard to get a hold of. I'm glad when they came out in perfect order, they were much easier to get a hold of. One thing I thought was very interesting, right, is these are actually commons in Ascended Heroes, even though they're harder to hit, but they're uncommons in perfect order. Have you guys noticed that? If you didn't know that, you got to hit the like button. Give me a like if that's the first time you've seen that, because that's crazy to me. And it's also crazy because they're easier to get in perfect order, probably because it's a smaller set. But anyways, we got 4 Pokepads, and then we got 2 Switch. Again, a lot of our Pokemon have 2 or more retreat cost. So we want to be able to switch, get out of the active with those Pokemon. So we got 2 Switch. We got 2 Night Stretcher. Again, we want to be able to get stuff out of the discard pile, and this is the best way to do it right now with Night Stretcher for sure. Especially losing Super Rod. I think this is going to be a bigger card even post rotation because it's going to be the best way we can get cards out of our discard pile back into our hand. That in Lana's Aid, like I see Lana's Aid getting played a bunch post rotation. Then we got 2 Air Balloons. These are our only tools in the deck. Again, to help us retreat, especially with Mega Brave, Mega Lucario's second attack. He can't use it on the next turn. So if we're able to get out of the active into another Mega Lucario, that's going to help us out. So, and then we have 1 Team Rocket's Watchtower. Again, because we're not running any normal type Pokemon in here, this is going to help us out and hopefully slow the opponent up. So we got 1 Team Rocket's Watchtower and 1 of the Gravity Mountains. I would say you can switch this out because of the next card we're going to talk about if you'd like. So I think Gravity Mountain helps us get to higher numbers with our attacks. And we have other ways of doing that, but I think you could substitute this with maybe another Team Rocket's Watchtower. I like having it. It gives me one extra card to get a big knockout if I need it, especially at the end of the game. So I've had good results running 1 and 1 of the stadiums. However, I think that's up to you. You get to make that decision. And then I'm running maximum belt again. I like to play aggressive, so I like taking bigger knockouts. Again, this makes it easier to do those knockouts. I guess I lied. I said we only had air balloons as our tools, but that's not true. So we run the maximum belt. A lot of decks are running Hero's Cape instead. I think that's going to be up to you and how you want to play. Mega Lucario with a Hero's Cape sitting at 440, that's going to be super tough to knock out. And you still have other ways of powering it up. So I guess that's up to you. If you want to run Hero's Cape, then you probably could run uh, 2 Gravity Mountains or something like that. I think those are things that's going to be up to you to kind of figure out. But I prefer Maximum Belt. That's how I like running it. All right, getting pretty close to the end here. So then we have, I think, 8 or 9. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So then we have 9 fighting energy, basic fighting energy. Right, we actually want a decent amount in here. We need to get some in the discard pile. We use them for our draw support with Soul Rock Lunatone. So that's why we have a decent amount. I mean, 9's not massive, but that's a pretty good amount of energies, right? So then we have 9 basic fighting energy, and we have 1 of the Rocky fighting energy, new here in perfect order. And what this does, right, is it provides fighting energy um, to any Pokemon. So it doesn't matter who it's attacked to. Obviously, in ours, it's going to be attached to a fighting Pokemon. But it also says prevent all effects of attacks used by your opponents done to the fighting Pokemon this card is attached to. So this helps with Dragapult. It's going to help with Marnie's Grimmsnarl, Mega Starmie. So this could be big. Again, it's only going to be if it's um, on the bench for those attackers. But however, this can really help us out. So this is a way to help us eliminate getting damaged on the bench from attacks and stuff. So Rocky fighting energy, and we only have 1. I've seen several that run more than 1. They're running. I mean, I saw one that was running 4. But I think it's better to have more basic fighting energy to help us with our draw power. So again, this is what I'm running with Mega Lucario. Again, I really like this deck. I think it's a ton of fun to play. Please smash the like button, uh, subscribe, follow if you haven't already, and share this with your buddies. Anybody interested in Mega Lucario, I'd love to hear what they have to think about this deck and this build. So thank you guys all for watching. Have a Poketastic day.